with Michael Buffer.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's stay in the welterweight division. This bout is scheduled for 4 rounds. The referee is George Chip. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He's wearing the red trunks and weighs in at 146 1/2 pounds from Dunwoody, Georgia. His professional record is 2-4. Both of his victories by knockout. Introducing Chauncey, the Spoiler Johnson. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. Wearing the purple trunks with white trim, weighing an even 151 pounds from Atlanta, Georgia. Undefeated 2-0, both by KO victory. Ladies and gentlemen, James Snoop Gatlin.
Let's go, gentlemen. Let's go. All right, men, I've got 3 things. 1, conduct yourselves as professionals. 2, protect yourselves at all times. 3, obey my commands. Let's touch gloves and go to your corners.
So here's a look at Chauncey Johnson, the spoiler they call him, and his record would indicate that he's only done that twice. 2-4. And James Gatlin, who, as we mentioned, is really 4 pounds over the welterweight limit, despite the fact that this is listed as a welterweight fight. 2 up and none down, both by way of knockout.
You're doing a lot of quibbling here.
I know that. I shouldn't do that, should I?
You're letting the facts get in the way again. I hope that doesn't happen too often here.
4-round fight. Gatlin, the taller and bigger.
The younger of the 2 as well, 22. Chauncey Johnson is 30. Trying to use that height and reach. Second left-hander we've seen tonight, of course, Emmett Litton, who just scored an excellent victory.
We'll talk with Emmett after this round.
Watch your back of the head. Keep your punches up front.
Gatlin is keeping Johnson at bay with the long reach, the jab.
Punch out there. Punch out there. Let's go.
Tell young fighters like this, always a lot of nerves, and you can just tell in the way they start out here. Neither one has really settled into this fight yet.
Yeah, it's very difficult in your early bouts. It really is. Nice counter right hand there. Chauncey Johnson getting that one in. Where exactly is Dunwoody, Georgia?
Dunwoody, Georgia.
Would you know that?
Actually, I wouldn't know. My mind was racing trying to think of where that might be.
Just checking.
I don't really know.
It's like they hit you with these geographies.
North of Atlanta. Ken Dennis, our producer. That's why we have producers.
Ah, okay. See, we have Atlanta people working on our crew who can give us geography at a moment's notice. Wasn't it thoughtful of me to ask you on the air?
It was good.
Johnson trying to counterpunch Gatlin as he comes in, and having some success at it, actually. Beginning, Gatlin was keeping him at bay with his jab, but there you see Johnson at least able to get close with those punches.
Kind of a pushing left hand by Gatlin.
Johnson has found a home for that right hand, and Gatlin's going to have to find a way not to get hit with it. Well, that's one way to duck it.
Step back. Watch.
We head to the end of round number 1. James Gatlin and Chauncey Johnson. Not a bad round for Johnson, but Gatlin the aggressor in the first round.
How about it? I may be tempted to give that round to Johnson.
Why don't you give it to Johnson?
I think I will.
All right. Meanwhile, we are between rounds, and we welcome Emmett Litton, who just scored a very tough victory over Jeff Johnson. You drew a pretty tough card tonight.
Yeah, I did. The guy was a real tough cookie. He came to fight, and I just went out there and worked on what Donald and Paul was telling me in the corner, and hopefully come out with a big victory.
Let's talk a little bit about this badge here. I don't know if you can see this, but this is Jarrell Linton, son of Emmett Linton. How old is Jarrell now?
Jarrell is 2.
2 years old. I see. We'll give him a little blast on the air.
First,
here.
I must say hello to my mom and dad back home, my sister Tanetta, my brother Robert, and Maurice.
Takes care of Seattle.
That's right. It seemed, Emmett, like you did better in this match when you started moving a little bit more, giving him some angles, which you didn't do the first 2 rounds.
Exactly. The guy came out, and it was a tough guy, and he brought the best out in me, and that's what I needed.
You know, it's interesting that Donald Curry said he wanted you to start using the jab a little bit earlier in the fights, that sometimes you forget about it till you really get going. But when we saw the numbers on the jab, you out-jabbed him 106-12 tonight. I know Donald's going to like that.
Yeah, he's going to like it, but we're going to have to double it and triple it.
Basically, though, you fought a tough guy, and it came away with a W, and I don't think it can get much better than that. Just the fact that I think we talked earlier today about that somewhere along the line you got to step up with opponents. I think you took a step up tonight.
I think I did, too. I must say that this guy has been the toughest opponent through my professional career.
This guy wasn't a guy who just showed up for payday, Al. This was a guy who really took the fight, tried to take the fight right to the guy who was supposed to beat him.
He did indeed, and it was an excellent win for you, Linton. Emmett, congratulations.
Thank you, Al.
Great win. Thanks, Emmett. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.
Emmett Linton, who has run his unbeaten streak now to 13-0. And this one was a tough one.
Let's go, let go. Punch out of there. Punch out. Let go. Let go.
Emmett Linton, a nice young man, trained by an awfully nice guy.
Yeah, and he has lots of skills. And it's fun to see a guy get in there against somebody tough. I think he made the fight a little tougher at the beginning, and he admits that, and so did Donald. But it's part of sports and part of boxing.
Wait too long.
And we're watching a couple of other young fighters. James Gatlin in the purple trunks, Chauncey Johnson in the red. From Dunwoody, Georgia. That's just north of Atlanta.
Yes, yes. As our exhaustive research indicates. It's good to be back doing this now.
Yeah.
We're back in the saddle, and you had an interesting time prior to during our break doing the Stanford football games on the radio.
Very exciting.
Did they get a win at Notre Dame or
They
what?
got more than a win at Notre Dame. As a matter of fact, get on the soapbox here for a minute. The way the Chicago papers and the South Bend papers wrote that, they bought right into what Lou Holtz said at the end of that football game. And Holtz said, we were tired, baloney. They got whacked. Whacked good.
Barry says, I like that. You're right on that soapbox.
Well, I'll tell you, the papers never acknowledged the fact that Stanford beat them.
So I guess what you're saying is we don't ever want to get another good review in the Chicago newspaper. Is that what you're basically telling me?
Oops.
It's okay. No, you should have the courage of your conviction. The opinions expressed on this show were those of Barry. And have absolutely none. And I used to live in Chicago.
Not the world's best boxing announcer, Al Bernstein.
No, you have a right to your opinion. You're probably right because you're seldom wrong.
Punch out there.
In the meantime, Chauncey Johnson is doing a pretty darn good job of not getting hit with the jab. Well, of course, after I said it, he got hit with the right hand of Gatlin.
10 seconds.
Coming to the end of the second round, and Gatlin and Johnson having a pretty good go at it here. We'll be back. We are back. This is round 3. Chauncey Johnson and James Gatlin. Johnson in the red, Gatlin in the purple trunks. Been a little bit less than an art form so far.
Well, you know, both men, it's not for lack of efforts. They just have been inaccurate. Only 10 jabs have landed in the fight between both fighters. They've thrown 81. And it is not for lack of effort. It's just neither man has been very accurate with their punches.
You got it even.
First round to Johnson, the second round to Gatlin. I don't know if the punch profile is in sync with me on this one, but occasionally I like to just bolt on my own, you know.
It's a good idea. Just sort of strike out like Lewis and Clark.
So, yes. They were a dance team, weren't they?
I think they were a law firm.
Gatlin has been unable to land the jab, as evidenced by those figures, as much as he would like, and he's got the long reach, and he's trying to make the jab work for him. There's the right hand by Johnson. He's been able to land the lead right from time to time.
Break. Box.
Come on, James. Get the distance, baby.
Get busy. Let's go.
Straight left hand all day, James. Come on, James. Get busy, man. Get busy.
Nice body work there by Johnson. And the lead right again. So those are the two things that are working for him, and he's going right back to him.
Don't stop. Don't stop.
And you know, when he uses the jab, Johnson, as a pawing measure, and then throws the right hand, he can pretty much land it whenever he wants.
Gatlin feels he might have just gotten thumbed by Johnson also.
There you go.
In the left eye, does it look like?
Right eye, actually.
Right eye?
Punch out.
There's Ray Mercer coming up against Mike Dixon, hometown Augustin. He spent some of his early years here, and we'll get to see a little more as we profile Ray Mercer, so a little bit more about his story.
Okay, let go, let go, let go. Box.
Good shot. Good shot. Come on, baby.
Both these fighters, you can see, very off balance with their
Got it where you
punches.
want it.
Gatlin
Back
has
it up,
tendency
baby.
to
Keep it
lunge,
going that way.
like they both do.
Left hand, right hook.
As for Johnson, getting inside that reach is a problem. The way he's been able to do it mostly is with the straight right hand, but it's been a bad round for Johnson.
Left hand, right hook.
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
We head for the end of round 3 of a 4-round fight, Gatlin and Johnson, and we'll be back. Controversy. It's not really a controversy. They got all kinds of guys who can play, and they're putting the ball up a lot more than they have in the past.
Johnson's coming out in this round like he would like to make something happen, and he might make something happen the wrong way. When you do that, often you walk into punches.
Through the first 3 rounds, here are the numbers. Gatlin has thrown more and landed more. Actually, Johnson, to tell you the truth, his numbers are better than I thought they would be.
And only a total of 31% of all punches landed, period, between these two men. I'm really surprised Johnson is doing as poorly as he is in terms of his numbers of punches landed.
Get off his neck. Get off his neck.
He might have landed a few more of those right hands. Well, he looks over here. Maybe he heard me. Or maybe he's looking at punch profile saying, excuse me, boys, I think I landed more than 44 punches.
Yeah, that's right.
Take issue during the fight with those numbers. Hey, I bet you're wondering where I'm going to be on October 17th.
You know what? I bet you're going to be in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yes.
Why did I know that?
I just thought you'd like to know.
What are you going to be doing in Des Moines?
Well, I'm going to be doing my musical act in Des Moines, and it's going to be in front of a Big 3 boxing promotion card featuring Brett Lally. Remember him?
I do remember
He's got a 4-year winning streak.
Before he ran into Terry Norris.
Yeah, that was, and Donald Curry. Anyway, we'll be down there, and I'm looking forward to visiting with all the fans in Des Moines. So just thought I'd mention that.
It should be great.
That'll be fun.
Are you going to move down on the sofa, or are you going to stay for the rest of the show?
I think I'll stay in case there's perhaps another chance to mention it.
Our main event, of course, still to come, and that is Ray Mercer and Mike Dixon. Ray Mercer, local hero here. And Mike Dixon, actually, from Atlanta, so he's going to have a few folks.
That's true.
Let go. Break. Step back. Box.
2 tired fighters here. Gatlin may be a little more tired, even though he got the left hand.
Break. Break out of there. Punch out. Let's go. Punch out.
Gatlin has probably done enough to win this fight.
Yeah, he's just staying on the outside and doing just enough to land against punches. Although, honestly, I think it's close enough that you might be looking at a draw also.
Punch out there,
You
gentlemen.
see a lot of that, of course, in 4-round fights.
Punch out. Get busy. Let's go.
Get down. Come on, get down. Get down. Get down.
A lot of wild swinging, both men really not quite as accurate as they would like to be.
Come back with it. Come back underneath.
They're looking a little tired at this moment also.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll both be very thankful to see these last 10 seconds go away.
Let's go.
And that's that. And it meets with the sound of one hand clapping.
Well, it's interesting in both these men trying hard, they just didn't quite have the accuracy and the skill level to make for a more entertaining matchup, as we saw, of course, in our first match between Johnson and Emmett Linton.
So we will wait for the decision between these two.
I would actually score this one a draw. I give Johnson 2 of the rounds, but I think you're likely, as you look at the numbers, you're likely to see Gatlin win this bout. And the percentage of numbers landed, as I mentioned, the accuracy level, not really too good for either of these young men.
So we wait for the decision along with you, and Michael Buffer will give that to us as soon as he has gotten the numbers from the judges, and he appears to have them, and we are just about set to go to the center of the ring. And let's go to the center of the ring in the decision with Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. Bobby Ezor scores the bout 39-38. Valerie Dorsett scores it 39-37. And Erwin Deutsch scores the bout 39-37 for the winner by unanimous decision, Chauncey the Spoiler Johnson.
There you are.
And there you have it. So the spoiler has in fact spoiled James Gatlin's perfect record. And he is now 3 up and 4 down. And they start to go at it again as Gatlin. That might have been the best punch of the fight right there.
Chauncey taunted him a little bit, and Gatlin went after him.
You know, oddly enough, that's something you rarely see in this sport.
Very seldom. Very seldom. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, much more in your face in football than there is in the sport of boxing. Yeah. And you saw a little bit of it right there.